It's Brian White again, because we promised that we would expand to the best of our both of our abilities, our brains, in a brainstorming session. We started with the first part yesterday. If you didn't see that, I'll put the card up later, where we brainstormed about the catalysts that are coming for Tesla over the next 6 months. And today we're going to brainstorm, Brian. We want to brainstorm about a second thing. And nobody's talking about this yet, really. I mean, a few people here and there, but I think we could really expand this whole concept. And that is, when Apple's iPhone came out, it was a phone. Yeah, it was a camera. Oh, yeah, it was a flashlight. And those things became important. But what it really was a place to put a bajillion apps. And the thing that made Apple the number one most profitable company in the world and the number one most valuable company in the world was the apps, which nobody even was thinking about when.
I definitely didn't look at it as a financial catalyst.
And in fact, it took years before the stock market even got it. They came out with apps after apps after apps, and the revenue was starting to build. It was almost like a Tesla situation where people are like, how come you're not counting energy? Oh, it has to be at least 10%. Well, the apps had to be at least 10% of profits before anybody paid attention. And then all of a sudden it was this massive thing. I think that the cybercab and or robotaxi concept is going to provide all kinds of additional revenue sources for Tesla, obviously for others as well. But I want to brainstorm about it because I don't think people are halfway thinking about the potentials that are out there. So, what do you think, Brian? Can we attack that concept?
I think we can attack that concept. Here's the problem with you guys trying to count App Store revenue is okay, great. So an app costs $5, Apple gets a buck something. You want me to revise my figures over a buck something? Come on. No, it's $5 a month. That's now we just got a new $12, 15, $20 a year revenue stream out of one customer in perpetuity. And it's not one app, it's all the apps, it's all the things that you buy. Apple takes a big chunk. Yeah, but how many apps? I mean, who's gonna pay $20 a month for an app? Well, someone who's learning Mandarin or Cantonese or Spanish, maybe. It I couldn't see it at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think you could see it. I don't know if you could see
No,
that. I
no.
certainly didn't see it at the time. I've had conversations with people where I said that I put out a video last week saying they should have built Mexico. They should have built a more affordable car for Central, South America, and Asia
Mhm.
out of Mexico. And people said, well, no, they need to keep that money. No, they don't. They don't. It's only a couple $1 billion. It's like 10% of the pie. They've got a lot of pie. And all of these are going to become revenue generating at some point in the near future. Wouldn't they want just more units? Like, well, yeah, but no, they'll need that money to build out their own robotaxi fleet. And my argument there is the robotaxi fleet will be built out piece by piece, gradually. It may feel very quick, but the amount of money that they generate, the amount of gross revenue, the free cash flow is likely to be absurd because if you price it the same as Uber is today, 3, 4, $5 a mile, you're going to be generating an ocean of cash because it don't cost that to run it. And as you drop the price, you'll start eating into Uber and Lyft's market, into taxi market. But as you continue to drop the price, you'll start eating into everybody's market. If Uber Eats cost the same as picking it up from the store yourself, no one would go to the store because everyone loves soggy French fries, apparently. I do not understand why on earth you would ever order fries on Uber Eats, but people do, and they'll pay $40 for a combo. 40, I mean, what are you, insane? And the answer is yes, people are insane. So the flywheel may take a little bit of time to spin up, but it will get to the point where it is very possible for a taxi to pay for itself in under a year. And for every one that they sell, I don't think they're going to have a margin of 20% or 25%. I think they'd be crazy to sell them with a margin that low. I think they would be wise to sell it, uh, certainly mark it up by whatever the FSD costs, which will be more when it's complete. So it would be until competition comes in and it becomes a commodity. That's not on the horizon today. So I think it would be the amount for every one or two that they sell, they would have enough money left over to build one or two of their own. So I think, yes, the amount of revenue they could generate from robotaxi, assuming it works, which is the assumption we have to make. If it doesn't work, I mean,
All
none
bets.
of this matters. But if it works, hold on to your butt because your wallet is going to be overflowing.
So one of the things that people talk a lot about is delivery services. Okay, so some people are saying, well, they could do deliveries in the middle of the night when they're not very busy. There could be days of the week when business is slow when they could do deliveries. I'm thinking it'd be integrated, and I'm thinking that there's a lot of delivery service that people aren't even taking into consideration. So if you have a clever enough system of deployment that's doing all of this, then you can have deliveries that don't have to be picked up like a passenger has to be picked up on the nose. Somebody can say, as long as you pick up my delivery within this 2 hours or within this hour or within half a day. So that can be all integrated into the system to make it extremely, using AI, you can get this thing to be extremely cool. So what kind of delivery, have you thought at all about the kinds of deliveries that might be added to the system besides just moving humans around?
It depends on the form factor we're discussing. If we're putting autonomy on everything, then it can do anything. You know, when you were young, the garbage truck had three men. Do you remember three-man garbage trucks? Now it's one. Now, in order to make that happen, they had to change the garbage cans. They had to make universal garbage cans. You want me to pay for people's garbage cans? Yes, I want you to pay for them because it will save you money. Why do we still have one? Can't we drop that to zero? So, right. And it's not like, well, won't someone think about the sanitation engineers? My friend, that's a garbage man, and he would rather have a different job.
Right.
I'm sure of it. Some of them are paid quite well, some of them are not. But that's one. Why wouldn't you have, you know, people don't have ice cream trucks as much anymore because the amount you have to charge for ice cream in order to pay for the car and driver is prohibitive. Well, what if it was just a vending machine? What if the robotaxi was a vending machine on wheels? You could have an entire pop-up market of vending machines at any event. You could literally say, look, I'm having an event on the 23rd. Please come, just be here. And a bunch of vending machine trucks show up. Now you've got all your food things handled. You didn't have to think about it. You don't have to deal with permits and all the nonsense. Yeah, that would work. What other things could be delivered? Kind of anything. The overnight deliveries, I don't see as much because you still need someone in the vehicle to take it out of the vehicle. I don't think people want to get a notification on their phone at 3 a.m. to go outside and get their package. I think that's maybe not the right thing. Well, Optimus could do it. Getting a little ahead of ourselves. Optimus is not going to be out in huge numbers by the end of this year. FSD may. So sticking to reality, that's, one of the things I would think.
Okay, I was thinking about also customized tourist trips. So
100%.
you go into town and you hire one just to take you around and show you all the sights. Grok is on the speaker. Grok is explaining what that building is in lovely detail. You can ask Grok for more details and Grok can go deep. Your normal tourist guide might be pretty good at it, but Grok could be like 1,000 times better than any tourist guide. And sometimes I'll ask a tourist guide or even my cabbie, what that building is on the right, and he doesn't even know. Grok
Right.
will always know. So,
Right.
but there, and
Right.
where do I go to lunch? And
And this could be an app.
yeah,
Forget borrowing someone else's car. Do it in your own app. I want a driving tour of this small town. Well, you know what? This small town's visitors bureau put together their own tour, and volunteers are in there every week adding more stops and destinations, because you get in the car and you say, it's what kind of tour would you like? Architecture, the churches, the history of this big event that happened here 100 years ago, whatever it may be. And the beauty is, unlike current tours, when you roll up and it starts talking, you can hit skip.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
it's a
uh,
really big one.
right. Well, this part doesn't interest me. This tour could be 3 days long if you want it to be, or it could be 3 hours. Um, I don't want to see the architecture. I don't want to see the factories. You know what? I go on that tour. I only want to see the factories. Start me there. And if we've got time, maybe we'll look at some of the other stuff. Foodie stuff, and it'll tell you 3 hours in, it's like, boy, you getting hungry? Because I can recommend some things. Uh, yes, guided tours are absolutely going to happen. It is a wonderful application for it.
I was thinking about games that are designed around family interaction. So we all did slug bug and is it the object is red, and it's bigger than a bread box, all that kind of stuff. But now you could have interactive games that would be apps on the system that would be specifically designed around your family, around the ages of your family members, and they'd be unique, brand new games that'd be even more fun than the games that we invented when we were doing all this stuff. For long trips, even short trips, even a half an hour trip could still be kind of fun.
Geocaching, road trip bingo. Those are all things that you could do. Yeah, all of that can happen. I don't know how monetizable it is, but that remains to be seen. It could be something where no one's willing to pay for it. But again, maybe your small town wants to include things at their own effort. With their, they'll assign volunteers to it or hire someone to build it out. But it could be very easy and it could be doable. Yeah.
We found out the other day, I'm trying to remember who was the one that figured this out, whether it was CERN, maybe it was even you, that a lot of people are using Waymo and Uber to go to work. I had no idea that people are using it as a commuter. And we're talking about people that are in the lower middle class, who are, going to their jobs, making minimum wages. They were using because they don't have a car. I guess maybe the bus service is too slow and they're willing to pay the price. So it occurred to me that there might be a new kind of commuter radio that would be out there for folks that are using a commuter vehicle of this type, where you would have not only all the choices that you already have, but think about the potential choices that one would have in whatever language you want, in whatever uh, music style that you want. You wouldn't necessarily have to have your music stack already prepared in advance because I want to hear a lot of Vietnamese music this morning.
You know what I like, Doc, but I'll tell you what kind of mood I'm in. Play that.
Yeah.
We're in June. Give me some upbeat summer music. I don't like any of that. Generate me some from scratch. Yeah, you could do all that. I don't know how monetizable that is. Um, and the thing we've discovered with AI is as soon as someone does it, everyone does it. So the competitive advantage could be limited, or at least brief. But yeah, those are all things that it could do for sure. Another big thing is job sites. Oh, we need this. Who are we going to send? Because really, I need him here. I need just send the car. And Lowe's and Home Depot and Walmart all have curbside pickup already. When the car gets there, if the car, I'm sure the car would be able to notify I'm install 7.
Easily.
It'll be able to do that. And then, yeah, you send the car off 35, 40 minutes later, the car comes back with the piece you wanted. It's all done.
One person I think this might have been Grok that suggested this. He said, with the existing cameras, but maybe you add additional sensors if you need them, Robotaxis could collect real-time data on traffic patterns, road conditions, environmental factors, and that information can be sold to city planners, logistics firms, mapping services, help with smart city initiatives like optimizing traffic signals, planning infrastructure, and I guess apparently in Seoul, Korea, they're already doing this. So this would be a huge amount of data that would be able to be sold. And of course, that makes me think about other ways you can sell this data to other companies that are trying to build up their data information so they can be fully AI.
Well, so the question is, how would it work with the improving local infrastructure? Well, if a traffic light goes out, it has been reported already. It could be out. Well, what is the average time between robotaxis reaching any given point of the city? It's going to be more common than police or city workers passing the same intersection. I imagine at the moment, police might be tasked with reporting out lights. Uh, if the network can't already identify them remotely, which maybe they can, that might already be a thing. But potholes, yeah, very easy. And not only that, but you know what makes potholes worse is cars hitting them. What if a third of all cars are not going to hit that pothole? A third of all cars are going to dodge it.
Yeah.
That's going to make the pothole stay small longer. And especially if every car is reporting it, which would be hilarious. Okay, well, we've got 36 reports of a pothole on 17th this morning. Do you want to go fix it or do you want to get another 120 reports tomorrow? Please stop sending reports. Well, fix it and I will. So maybe.
We can imagine the possibility that brands could subsidize rides. They could subsidize the fares. They could make the fares free
Ugh.
or less expensive in exchange for some kind of ad exposure or some kind of filling out forms, something that could be done in the vehicle on the way to work or wherever they're going. And you get the ride for free or for half price because you're willing to participate in these efforts and or just be sold something.
It sounds crass and gross and terrible, but I can think of examples where it would work. When I was in Vegas, I was staying at Bally's. I was there for a conference. And in the basement, in the mall, they had a research group that would show you TV programs and ask you very specific questions about the TV programs. This is how they pick which shows make it to air. And the pay for it was something great, like 25 bucks maybe. Would you like to participate in this program? Would you like to watch some TV trailers? I know you've got the time because I can see what your destination is. And in exchange, we will cover your entire ride for today. I can see people saying yes to that. The bigger application I can see is casinos would be happy to pay your fare to get you to the casino. There are casinos near Seattle that run shuttle buses between Seattle and the casino. It's got to be outrageously expensive. And also, because it's a casino, they know how much you bet and they know whether or not to offer you a ride again. Because last time you came here and didn't even have lunch, you just looked around and then left. We ain't paying for that.
You know, what you just made me realize, and you and I maybe shouldn't even say this out loud on the air because maybe we should start the company and do it. The casino, the online casinos might be willing to pay your fare if you're going to play on their casino, play their poker or play whatever it is in the car on your way to work, on your way home.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's awful. Uh, yeah. Well, I mean, people already do that on their phone. I don't think the car needs to add more vice to the world.
Well, no, yeah, I understand it doesn't need to, but my point is,
Right.
I know how many people do you know that play football, all these football things, they're playing these all the time during season. So if you were able to do that on your way and get your fare paid, and again, the cost of acquisition is the big deal for these companies. That's what they're willing to pay a lot to acquire that player.
Mm,
That could be a very, very, very big opportunity.
mm.
Any other thoughts on monetizing? That's my list. You got any other thoughts on monetizing robotaxis and cybercabs in the future?
No, no. One thing I would say is sometimes, you ever been on a cruise that was a, what do you call that? A repositioning cruise. Robotaxis will need to be repositioned. Wouldn't it be nice to monetize repositioning?
Yeah.
If a bunch of people take taxi from city one to city two, we got to get them back at some point. U-Haul has already proved that you can do one-way fares effectively. You can
Right.
manage the fleet effectively, but from time to time, they'll have to pay people to bring them back. Well, you won't be paying to bring them back, but you could also monetize it. You could have a service that says, by the way, we've got a one-time discount on fares back the other way.
Yeah.
If you happen to be going that way, it's half price or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's
No doubt. In fact, I was thinking that's kind of a monetization issue, or maybe just a better way to increase the total number of rides. But you have by using AI, you can use scheduled rides, subscription pricing, the sophisticated pairings for carpooling, things like that, in order to dramatically increase the uses. I mean, the amount of time that the vehicle is in use, which is kind of what your point was. Any kind of return. So when I'm going to the LAX all the way from Riverside, it's like 65 miles. So that driver who picks me up in Riverside takes me to the airport. Boy, would he love to have anything he could get to
a
get it halfway
package,
back, halfway
anything.
back, a quarter of the way back, all the way back to Riverside. So if the AI is sophisticated enough, it might be possible to get a lot of that deadheading taken care of.
It would be nice to um, get a 5% discount to schedule that ride when I get on the plane instead of when I get off the plane at LAX.
Right.
If I schedule it before I get on the plane, I can't, the network has more time to try and iron it out. That would be great.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. There's a whole bunch of brainstorming. Obviously, we've set you all up because, now we're going to ask you to brainstorm. You've got a huge empty template down there. You can just fill it up with all kinds of ideas. And if there's enough cool ideas, I'll do an entire new program, maybe even with Brian the Brain, which, by the way, we always had that issue growing up with my Brian, which is, it's
Yes.
spell it wrong and it's brain. So
That's not a problem. That's a solution. That's why I'm here. We're trying to brainstorm new ideas.
there you go. All right, Brian, as always, thank you for being on board. And to all of you out there, keep the brainstorming going. It's been great talking to you.